All right, we're going to acquisition and ingest. We're only running 2 minutes late, which is good. We'll catch it up, don't worry. Okay, acquisition and ingest. Now, certainly this is an area that has changed quite significantly. Um, Gone are the days of just cameras you ingest. I mean, we're all familiar with file-based ingest. We're all familiar with hard drive-based ingest. But it's certainly changing with a couple of technologies. So being able to use mobile and cell tower ENG, also taking an RF baseband to have a look at closed captions and index, and you'll see that in the SnapStream product. Very clever stuff. So there's more and more ways to get material in. And we want to show you a few of those, and then we'll show you how to deal with those pieces of material later on. But I'll hand over to Johan now, who's going to take us through one of certainly Digistor's favourite products, which is the Dejero platform.
Hello again. Pardon me. So Dejero, they actually did have quite a few nice things new at NAB this year, which is good to see. For those who are unaware of the product, I'll go through it very quick. It uses 3 and 4G technologies over multiple SIMs to bond SDI signal together, transport it in an MPEG-4 stream. Then when it gets back to the studio, it bonds the signal back together and then plays the SDI out. And used in newsrooms, and if you watch the news at any time in Australia at the moment, you're going to be, pretty much doesn't matter what channel it is. It's going to be they're going to be using one of these technologies, be it TVU, LiveView, or Dejero, or something like that. So this year was a good year for Dejero. Basically, we've got version 3 of the transmitter software coming out, which is going to have BGAN support. The BGAN kind of works. We've done a bit of testing with some of the networks, but we're just waiting for the final version to come out. There's a signal booster. There's a backpack. The Connect Live, which has been out for, I guess, a year, or people have been looking at pictures of it for a year. Should be finally shipping in June, which sounds like it's about a month away, which almost sounds too good to be true. The Portal Multi-Viewer and the Newsbook for the Mac. So going past version 3, obviously we'll have more details when that arrives and is shipping. The signal booster is basically that little box next to the 2020 transmitter you see there. Plugs via USB into the 2020, and it holds its own SIMs. So it's going to be good for a couple things. So I'll go through it. You can also add antennas on it, and you can see the antennas which are sitting on the top of the truck, which would be sitting on the top of the van, or they don't have to be sitting there, but when you're traveling, you're probably not going to have time to set up something nice and neat like that. So one is going to be good for signal boosting, which is great, right? So a lot of the guys go to Indonesia all the time, and there's a lot of places where it's just 3G, and I know in places like Adelaide and in Queensland, they're continually traveling into the rural areas where a booster is going to be great. But it also holds its own SIMs. So one of the things is people are always going overseas and changing SIMs and all that sort of thing, and tend to travel a lot more than what was expected a couple of years ago for the devices. So you could, with the booster, you could basically put, if you had 5 or 6 of those lying around, you've got one for Indonesia, one for Europe or London, one for the Middle East, one for South Africa. I know they've gone there a couple of times in the last year with Mandela and the runner guy. So you could have those sitting on the shelves, and rather than just grabbing the 2020 and going, okay, we've got to get SIMs, we've got to do this when we get there, you just grab a 2020 and you grab the signal booster, and bang, you've got it. You've got one for South Africa. You grab the South African signal booster, off you go. There's no mucking about when you get there. Everything just works the way it's supposed to. So it's good for a couple of things. I mean, obviously, signal booster, everyone's been asking for ages, but yeah, it's good to have that with a little bit of kind of cream on top with it. Then there's a backpack, so it's kind of more of a harness and a backpack type thing. We're not sure if this is going to be the final version that's shipping, But basically, you clip. It's really really robust. Like, it is incredibly robust. You clip your 2020 to it. It also that connects to your V mount. Adapters which are on the 2020, and then you can put your batteries up onto the harness as well. So a couple of things that makes the unit not quite as fat when it's sticking on your back, and two, there's a little bit of weight distribution there as well, which is very good. I've got to admit, there's only been very, very few people who have actually said, "Oh, we really, really want that on our back," and I don't think there's been many from Australia who have asked that as well. It's good to just get to a place, I think, and just chuck it on the floor. So, so you have, it's not another thing you're carrying, right? Because you're carrying a tripod, carrying a camera. You don't want to carry another thing, right? So you just want to chuck it all on the ground, get the camera on the tripod, and off you go. So this is the Connect Live for those who don't know. It was announced about a year ago. So it's going to be able to do cellular, microwave, Wi-Fi, and satellite connections. Should be shipping in June. It looks like I haven't seen the final version of it. But it looks like it should be able to fit onto a camera, which a lot of guys are liking. I think from my personal customers, I think the microwave is more the thing that they're really, really waiting for as far as this unit goes, and being able to, be able to use Sims with it as well, right? So there's a lot of interest in that. The multi-viewer, this is probably more something for MCR, but I think it's something really, really good for MCR. So when you've got, I guess, somewhere, 10 to 20 transmitters, it's quite easy to use the normal router to sit there and route between A and B and C. It's when you get past 20 into the 30s and 40s and all that sort of thing, and up to 100, which some of the guys in the US have, being able to find something and route it very quickly is always, is what Master Control want to do. They don't want to think about it twice. So what the multi-viewer does is, you can see it there in the picture on the bottom left. As soon as somebody turns on a transmitter, now they don't have to actually be transmitting, a proxy of what their camera of their that's plugged into their transmitter pops up on the screen. So it's going to work in a few ways. So if you have got a few guys like that, it's going to pop up there in MCR, and MCR can go, okay, I want to take that camera and I'm going to route it to this RX, and off I go, right? And from that, you could also, if MCR, if the cameraman, if I don't know, you might have a locked off camera or something like that somewhere, MCR could potentially actually start the transmission themselves if they need to. So they can remote into it and change settings and all that sort of thing. So that's good. And also you can change that. So that's 4 wide by 3 tall. You can change that to, if you've got a big screen, you can change that to 16 wide, or however many by however many you want to. Another good thing is, when you've got big events and people are using, and this is another time where this is going to be really good, where people are using the iPhone app. So you might have, say you've got 20 transmitters in your company or whatever that are, for the broadcast trucks and all that sort of thing. You might say there might be a very big event on, and you might go, okay, well, we want to give all of our journos an iPhone app where they can stream live back to the studio as well from wherever they are. They don't know, something might happen. It might be worth them doing that. As soon as they turn their iPhone on and open the Dejero app, again, that's going to stream that picture straight back to the portal, and those guys are going to be able to take that picture and route it through straight away as well. So, that iPhone might never be routed to a receiver normally, because, it's in a journo's on their iPhone. They use it once every 6 months or something, but as soon as they turn it on, it's going to turn up, the picture's going to show up there. They might be on a train on the way to work or something. I don't know if the journos get trains to work, but might be on a train to work. Something happens, turn your iPhone on, MCR can see it straight away and route it through. So I think it's a really good, development from those guys, as far as helping get the speed of, I guess, glass to glass, up there. So it's one of those back-end features which you really like. The Newsbook for Mac. So the Newsbook's been out for a while, but it's always been on the PC, and we know pretty much a lot of the journos we deal with have all got MacBooks, all of them. So finally, there's actually a version. It works very similar to the iPhone app. It's very, very basic. You just plug a Thunderbolt Ultra Studio or mini recorder or something like that in there to take an SDI feed, and you can either use the Ethernet from the hotel to stream back, or you can plug in a USB dongle or use Wi-Fi or whatever it is. It's very simple, but now on the app it makes it a lot more accessible, and to especially the guys in Australia who are doing this sort of thing. The cloud server, cloud being one of Sean's favorite words of the day. Basically, the cloud server, rather than streaming back to a studio, a lot of guys, be it the application is web only, so they might just be using a Dejero, and all they want to do is use it to stream and put it onto a website somewhere. What you can do is stream straight up to Dejero's CDN, and what they'll do is they'll stream out 3 separate streams, one for iPhone, one for iPad, and you can send it to 3 separate CDNs as well. So it's basically forwarding it onto your own CDN. You've got to look at it as in, like, once the signal gets back there, they've got to bond that signal back together, being if it's coming from 4 or 5 different SIM cards or whatever. So bonding it back together, sending it to a CDN in 3 different flavors. It's a monthly fee to get that done, and I think it suits certain people's workflows very, very well. So it's really them just helping you stream straight from your 2020 rather than using your own infrastructure. So I think that's it for Dejero for now, but I'll put you back on to Matt, who's going to go through the Blackmagic 4K cameras.
Thanks, Johan. I don't know if you saw it on that first Dejero slide, but they had Chappelle Corbury coverage using the Dejeros. So a bunch of cameramen on motorbikes following around poor Chappelle, which, depending on which side of the camera you were, was maybe funny or not. But moving on to Blackmagic, it wasn't hard to miss this stand. It was right up the front and it was packed to the max. Blackmagic had 10 new announcements and 14 new products this year at NAB. And the 2 products I'm going to talk about today are the professional cameras, the URSA and the new studio camera. So over the years, we've watched Blackmagic bring out smaller DSLR-like production cameras. People were rigging these up to thousands of dollars worth of gear, and Blackmagic saw the opportunity to create a full-size production camera. And that's what we have here with the URSA. It's a full-size 35mm sensor for Ultra HD recording. The idea is that this camera can be used by a single operator or multiple operators working around it, working in Ultra HD or HD and recording to CFast cards or sending that off via the SDI output. It's a pretty cool design. Being able to have the sensor and the lens mount removable so that you can do the EF or the PL-based version of the camera or upgrade those later. You can also tripod it or shoulder mount it. What really instantly attracted me to the URSA was the gigantic screen. So if you had a single guy who wanted to work here and also have a full touchscreen control over the camera, but also maybe you want to have a director standing where I could have my focus pull or an audio person. So with the full 1080 screen, it's a great image. You're no longer looking at just a little viewfinder or having to strap on an external monitor, which just uses more batteries and more power and adds weight. It's a great flexible full-size production camera. Shipping real soon, and that's a Blackmagic real soon, which might be by this time next year. A couple of points. It uses the CFast, which is a new type of media, which will give you more space in a smaller form factor. The camera has 2 slots, so when one fills up, it will start recording onto the next. You can shoot 4K on this and up to 60 frames per second, and it can deal with the heat with a liquid cooling system, which is totally silent and doesn't vibrate. You have SDI inputs and outputs, timecode, basically everything that you need. It has audio with phantom power. You can add metadata via the touchscreen as you're recording, so it's a really flexible camera. The most impressive thing about this is its price. It's an aspirational and attainable camera, to quote one of the Blackmagic guys on the stand. The other camera which kind of freaks me out is, and it's at a very disruptive price point, is the $2,415 studio camera. Blackmagic wanted to create something which is a single purpose camera. So all the other cameras are really about content creation and going out and doing film production, independent film and documentary work. The studio camera is strictly live production work. There's no recording media in here. It's a lens with a camera and a viewfinder. It's got SDI as well as fiber, as a lot of guys want to do long runs. So the nice part here is with the SDI and fiber, we can go back and maybe I'm just doing something single camera for live streaming, or perhaps I'm going back to something like my ATEM television studio or production studio switcher. I can have multiple cameras tied up to a live production environment and have all that via SDI or fiber. There's talkback and tally built into the camera. So it's really about having this live production camera, and at only $2,415 for the HD version, which is shipping now, and there's a $3,625 Ultra HD version shipping shortly. I obviously haven't gone into too much detail, but you can find out a whole heap more about these cameras on blackmagicdesign.com. Next up, the AJA CION Camera. So the big news with AJA this year is that they are now making a camera. They claim it represents 5 years of development, so they've been working on this for a while. Well, I'm not sure if it was a knee-jerk reaction or whether that's true or not, but they're claiming 5 years of development. But the really cool thing about this camera is it won NAB Best in Show. The reason why AJA brought out a camera to market is it builds upon a lot of the existing technologies they've developed over the years. Obviously with the IOHD and the Key Pro. So AJA has developed the market for external encoding, so the camera builds on a lot of that encoding technology. And what AJA has tried to do is bring back a camera to the market that draws on the last, 100 years of camera development. That is, they're bringing ergonomics back. It's a camera you can take out and put on your shoulder. Those ergonomics have been balanced out with a magnesium case, and in that respect, it's just 6 pounds and really easy to get it up onto your shoulder. All the encoding is going to be ProRes, but significantly, it's every single flavor of ProRes. So 444, 422 at every level. It's 4K recording. If you want to do 4K at 30 frames, at 30p, it's 444. If you want to do 4K at 60p, that's going to be 422. Now that's not the encoder, that's a limitation of the bandwidth of SSD, which it records onto. As far as other options for higher frame rates, AJA is doing this via Thunderbolt and the SDI. Thunderbolt will allow 4K 30 frames per second on export as AJA RAW. The 4 3G SDIs will give you up to 120 frames per second of 4K as AJA RAW. In addition, there's been a lot which has gone into this design. The aesthetics, the functional and practical elements being a big key. To quote them, it looks beautiful, but it behaves beautifully as well. So in terms of operation, it's set for 3 people to operate this without getting in anybody's way, which is really important. It's PL mount only, but it's a mechanical mount with 4 screw points. So it's completely removable and offers back focus adjustment as well with the sensor. So this means if a third party wants to make an EF mount, they're good to go. Behind the mount is a combined IR cut and OLPF. So the infrared cut means we get vibrant, strong colors, and the optical low-pass filter means we get reduction in YA patterning. So a really crisp, clean image. AJA is saying it'll be shipping by September at a price of just above $12,000, including GST. So I'm going to hand over to Sean, who's going to continue talking about AJA, and specifically mini converters and the LUT Box.
Hi guys, just a really, really quick one because we are running close to time. We've only got about 9 minutes left in this section, but just wanted to quickly cover off specifically the LUT box. And the reason I wanted to bring this one up is most people know that HIA have mini converters, so your SDI to HDMI, HDMI to SDI. They've obviously got the 4K versions this year, but certainly one of the cool new ones is the LUT box, which I think is really, really sweet. So HDMI in, if you want from a camera, and the ability to be able to put a 3D LUT directly on it, so whether it's a 3DL or a TXT or a Cube, so be able to just chuck that on and be able to then monitor your source. So you could be on set and actually having a look at it, or if you can't afford a very expensive a screen where you can load a LUT directly into it, you can purchase one of these. It's about $700 and load the LUT directly in and actually have a look at what quality your material is going to be. So it's quite an impressive little box, and it does 3D LUTs as well, not just your standard LUTs. It does 3D LUTs as well. So screaming through this, I'll just quickly pass to Matt, who's going to talk about the SnapStream product.
Okay, so SnapStream, we're going to sort of churn through this quite quickly because we're about to run out of time. Look, SnapStream helps businesses record and search lots and lots of TV. They automate that process as much as possible. It's an enterprise DVR and TV search engine. So think of the biggest, most powerful, most robust DVR you could ever imagine. That's a good way to envisage SnapStream. They lay on top a really intuitive, fast, and powerful search engine and some additional tools to make clipping that recorded content very simple and easy. The software is web-based, so there's no client-side configuration required. How does it work? It takes a signal, your standard RF signal, into the SnapStream server. The server is based on user input or recording information, based on program guide or based on times or whatever your criteria is. So it records that content and makes that content available for viewings, searching, and repurposing for clients, whether they are on a laptop, tablet, or sitting at their desk. The list of features is pretty extensive, so I just wanted to cover off a few of the ones which I think are really, really cool. So you can search based on closed caption information. You can set up TV alerts and receive an email anytime a saved keyword or phrase is recorded. If you can stream live or record TV across your local area network. Who's using SnapStream? Organizations who, I guess, strategically rely on television. SnapStream provides a really efficient and cost-effective solution for TV monitoring. The hybrid DVR search engine improves accessibility to the rich media contained in the television signal. So we have television producers who are making clips. You might have public information officers who are searching local news to ensure accurate reporting and planned media responses. Publicists who are monitoring TV news to, I guess, measure campaign success, and researchers who are conducting content analysis. We do have a demo unit set up here at our lab in Artarmon, so if you do want to know more or see it hands-on, it's one of those products you really need to see hands-on to get a feel for it, let us know. Keep in mind it is an enterprise class product. It's not your sort of standard DVR you'd pick up in Officeworks or Harvey Norman. So it is going to be a 5-figure conversation. So I'm going to very quickly hand back to Sean, who's going to tell us a bit about Venice. And by Sean, I mean Johan. Here we go.
Hey there. Oh, pardon me. Hey again. Yeah, just touching on what Matt just finished on, I think one of the best examples of customers that the SnapStream guys have is like Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert. So I don't know if you've seen the Colbert Report or the Daily Show, but they're continually searching through massive amounts of media which is coming in every day and finding clips of different politicians and funny, silly things that people say on a day-to-day basis, and then using that in their show, and they're doing that, turning that around on a daily basis. So that is something, a good product. It's just a pity we had to rush through it a bit. But on to Venice. So Venice is a best of breed. Traditionally, it was a DDR, a direct-to-disc recorder, but obviously now stuff's not coming on tape as much. It's all coming in off file. So it's basically an ingest tool of all sorts. What they did new for NAB is they've integrated very heavily into the ISIS and Interplay platform with Avid. So DVS, but now who are now Rhodes Schwartz. They've always been the first to get to anything. Like the people who are doing the DCI packaging type things, that they were the first on it. They were the first to come up. As soon as a new standard is released, these guys are the first to jump on it. So what they're doing with Avid have sort of opened the gates up a little bit for them, and DVS, Rhodes and Schwartz have run into it. So much so, this is probably a best of breed product from NAB as far as we're concerned. So you can have a quad SDI input, or and it supports basically every format. So what's new is obviously the ISIS and Interplay. It's got a more it's user friendly in Avid Studio sort of workflows. You can ingest P2 XD cam and other material straight to your ISIS with all the metadata intact, and it can also do a dual destination recording. So if you're coming in and you're dumping a whole bunch of media into it, you might go, well, okay, I want you to push a whole bunch of DNX onto my ISIS, but I want you to send a copy of the raw footage over to my NAS over there. So you can basically set all that up in the workflow and dump all your media into it and run it like that. The product is so good. These two next slides are a bit of a catch up, right? So this is what it can do, right? There is just so much stuff that this as a direct-to-disc recorder can do, and they've been on, like I said, they've been on top of everything that's come out, every codec that's come out at the time. They've run and jumped on top of it. So, like I was saying, it's absolutely best of breed. It's so much best of breed that we're going to do on the 22nd of May. We're going to do a webinar specifically for Venice. Just to let everyone see how it works. So it's great for obviously broadcasters, but also post-production guys who are bringing in tons and tons of material. It really is, like I said, best of breed product. So it's worth anyone who's a broadcaster or runs a post-production facility to have a look.